Well, hi everyone, and welcome to today's masterclass on how to write a compelling email, led by the one and only Jeffrey James. I'm your host, Tony Vlahos, Chief Marketing Officer of ExecuNet. Yes, we text, we tweet, we like, we share, but email remains the most common form of written communication in the business world. Jeffrey is here to tell us how to nail that all-important email. 90% of the emails he writes to total strangers receive an answer within 24 hours. And during the next hour, he's going to show us how to do it. Pretty important stuff, and part of our commitment here at ExecuNet to connect you with experts and higher value thinking that can elevate your work, your company, your team, and your own career. I am so thrilled to introduce today's presenter. Jeffrey James is a veteran business journalist whose blog has won awards from the Society of American Business Editors and the American Society of Business Publication Editors. His writing has appeared in publications as diverse as Wired, Brand Week, and Men's Health, and is the author of many books, including The Tao of Programming, Business Wisdom of the Electronic Elite, and most recently, Business Without the BS, 49 Secrets and Shortcuts That You Need to Know. I'm going to welcome Jeffrey in just a moment, but I'm going to also give you a tip that a little later on we'll be telling you about a really special opportunity to work directly with Jeffrey, you and your team. And Kim will be chatting the information to you while Jeffrey's presenting. At the end, we'll share some details on how you can take advantage of that. So without further ado, Jeffrey, welcome back to the ExecuNet stage. It's a real treat to have you with us, and they're all yours.
Thank you. I've been really looking forward to this. So I'm going to start with a poll because it kind of calibrates where we're at where it comes to our understanding of email. And this is kind of how much emails that are sent from outside a company, primarily sales emails or job queries, just things from outsiders. How many of those, which do you think is the right answer? So what we're going to talk about today is how you structure an email campaign, kind of how you get through to someone to make sure that you're going to get, or to make sure you're going to get a response. So here's how you structure an overall campaign. How do you get people to open more emails? Once they open them, how do you get them to read them? And then how can you make sure that they respond in the way that you'd like them to respond? In other words, do whatever action it is that you wanted them to do when you sent them the email in the first place. Some general guidelines for writing emails. The biggest mistake that people make is that they think of writing as something that's different than talking. Or they have to be more formal, or they have to use big words or something. What I find is most people, when they just write down what they normally would say in a normal situation, they're often much more articulate and much clearer than they were when they were trying to write it. So write like you talk. If you need to, record yourself. Say, how would I explain this? Specifically, how would I explain this to an intelligent 12-year-old? That helps a lot too. Why 12-year-old? Because people aren't putting their entire mental energy usually on reading emails. You're only getting a part of their brain power. And this is just a reality of the modern multitasking environment that people live in. You're not getting, so kind of aiming for part of their brain for the 12-year-old level is a good target. And especially you have to avoid these four things, which I call them SCAT, salesy words, corporate speak, adjectives, and technical jargon. These are bulk up the message, confuse the message, and become and make it so that it's less likely to get a response. People turn off. When you sound like a salesperson in an email, people delete. Boom, they delete. If you go on with corporate speak and I'm reaching out to, all the stuff that people say when they're, in corporate environments, people just say, okay, I don't need to read this because it's just talking or just kind of nonsense. Adjectives, self-praising adjectives are a waste of time because when you put adjectives in, you're just, like we're the best company in the world, we have the best service, the best quality. That doesn't mean anything to anybody because all you're doing is making a claim. It's kind of like calling yourself good looking. It doesn't really work. So those turn people off, and technical jargon, unless you're specifically writing expert to expert, throwing in technical jargon usually makes people less interested in what they're reading, and it can make it completely confusing if they're not familiar with the technical jargon that you're using. So you want to avoid that unless you're like an engineer selling to an engineer or something like that. Then it's okay to use the technical jargon. But in other situations, it's best to avoid that. So here are the parts of an initial email, and I'm breaking it down this way very specifically because we're going to work on each part separately. So I'm going to walk you through how you write a really effective initial email. We write it. There's a reason why there's an upward arrow is that you'll see we're going to write it from the bottom up. It's easier when you're first learning this technique to do it from the bottom up. I, at this point, have done this so often, I go 1, 2, 3 because I can kind of see the whole thing, whole email in my head when I write